Mic 4, mic 4, mic 4, check mic 4, mic 4.
Mic 5, mic 5, mic 5.
Mic 6, test 6. Trustee Gasson, are you there? Go ahead.
Go ahead and what?
Just do mic 7, test.
Oh, mic test, mic test. This is Diane from Minions and Universal.
All right, we got you. Thank you. Are you going to be able to manage?
Both of us will, yeah. Mic 8, testing, mic 8.
It's good. Do you want me to just leave that one on?
Yes, please.
Okay, you're going to be hot and live now.
I'm going mute.
She's hot and live, everybody.
Okay, go ahead.
Test mic 9, testing mic 9. Test mic 9.
Mic 10, we're testing mic 10 to make sure that it's clear and understood.
Oh, mic 11, mic 11. Okay.
Podium mic, testing podium mic. Podium mic, test.
Make sure, just be proactive, ask her if I remember.
Wireless mic, testing wireless mic. Wireless mic. Okay. Derek, are we going to do Saturday? Did you, if you decide?
The IT guy. Logan.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Nevada Unified School District Board of Trustees regular scheduled meeting. We are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you please join me. All right, thank you. Just been a quick to let everyone know that Trustee Gasson is joining us by way of conference call, so we will be working her into the conversation. And it's now time to move on to agenda item 6, which is announcements of reportable action from closed session, and Vice President Butler will make those announcements.
All right, thank you. We did meet in closed session this evening on 4 items. The first item is with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation to pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D2, 1 case. We gave direction to staff. The second item, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957.1, conference with legal counsel, settlement of pending litigation. I have something to read out that makes it a little bit more clarifying. On Tuesday, August 9th, 2022, a majority of the board in closed session voted to approve a settlement agreement for Office of Administrative Hearings case number 2022020406, who asserted special education claims against the district. The board approved reimbursement for services in exchange for releases and a waiver of claim against the district. Trustee Gasson made a motion to approve the settlement agreement stated above. Trustee Aguila seconded the motion, and I will take a roll call vote. Trustee Aguila?
Aye.
Trustee Butler is aye. Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Jacobson?
Aye.
Trustee Mack? And Trustee Nell?
Aye.
And Trustee Millerick?
Aye.
Thank you. And the third item, with respect to every item of business to be discussed, let me just go back to that. That was 7-0 on that approval of that item. The third item, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session, public employees discipline dismissal release. We gave, it was information only to us. The last item, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957 and 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator Barbara Varenkovich, our attorney, with Janice Walliver Kelly, Employees Organization, Nevada Federation of Teachers, otherwise known as NFT. We gave direction, and that concludes our closed session announcements.
All right, thank you. So we will now move on to item 7, which is approval of tonight's agenda. So we do have at least one updated form on your desk, which goes with 12A, I'm sure from the looks of it. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. And then you have some information only on enrollment numbers that have been put before you, but they are not part of tonight's agenda. They may come in handy, though, during discussions if you had enrollment questions. So having announced that, do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I will move the approval of the order of business, the agenda for this evening's meeting.
So I have a first from Trustee Millerick and a second from Trustee Aguila to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor are 6 in the affirmative, and Trustee Gasson
Yes.
is a yes, so that is 7-0. We will work off an unchanged agenda is approved, or the agenda is approved, it's unchanged. So we'll now move on to approval of the consent agenda. Do any trustees have any questions, comments, or any items on the consent agenda they would like to discuss prior to passing all of the items listed? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda? First by Trustee Mack, seconded by Trustee Aguila. All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda? 6-4. Trustee Gasson.
Yes.
That makes us 7 approved, 0 against, so we will adopt the consent agenda. Now it's time to move on to item 9, and this is announcements from the board and the superintendent. We'll go ahead and start it down at the end of the table with you, Trustee Millerick.
Thank you very much. I would be interested this evening in getting a status report from the superintendent on the air conditioning projects that are going on. Our students are going to be walking in come Monday morning, and we've promised them we would be paying attention to this issue, and this will be the last board meeting we have before they walk into the classroom. So other than that, I have no items to announce. Thank you.
I think the superintendent can give us a summary outline of that. Trustee Aguila.
Just want to thank the facilities department for giving us the tour of the schools that we went to. Took some time off of their day to show us, and also thank to those that are thinking of running, that they also showed up and showed interest. So that's it. Thank you.
All right. Trustee Jacobs.
Yes, I enjoyed the Measure A site visits. We got to see Sinaloa has gotten new siding and paint. It looks fantastic. I'm not going to remember all the places we went, so I shouldn't even have started that. Sorry. I didn't take good notes to begin with. And then I enjoyed bocce with the administration group and district leadership, and some really interesting conversations with Nora Dome. Thank you.
Trustee Gasson, how about you? Any announcements from Universal?
No, I just want to wish everybody a really great first week next week.
All right, thank you. Trustee Mack.
No announcements. Just looking forward to the grand opening this week or next week. No, this week. Sorry. I'm losing track.
I as well did the facility tour. Thank you to Mike Willard and Melissa Dugan for setting that up and taking us around. That's super helpful in getting a visual of the projects that we're doing, which I know we all try to get out and try to look at it on our own, but to see it in their eyes and explain everything to us was super helpful. So I appreciated that. I attended Ignacio Rotary, Superintendent Derby and Leslie Benjamin presented to the Rotary, and that's just a start of getting around to all of the organizations and groups in their community to kind of give them of what's happening in the district. So thank you for doing that. Also was able to pop in just with new staff orientation that was just here on Monday. So that was yesterday. Yeah. God, feels like Thursday or something. So it was a nice setup, and we do it every year. We have the orientation, so I just popped in and got an introduction, and there were some principals here. So just an extension of welcoming our staff back. I know we've all the kids left in June, but doesn't mean that the work stops here in this district. I know that our teachers are still working through the summer. Our staff, our classified staff is continually working throughout the summer, so thank you for doing that. And getting our schools ready, circling back around and starting all over again to bring the kids back into the classroom starting next Tuesday. So thank you to our staff. That's it.
Just to let everybody know, I too went on the facilities tour, and I want to thank staff for driving us around in the white van and showing us what is and what's happening. Also attended the administrator orientation bocce ball tournament. I think my team came in third. That's kind of boasty, I guess. But there were better bocce players there, and a special thank you to Trustee Butler for helping to facilitate that, as well as the superintendent. I think everyone had a good time, and it certainly was productive. So appreciate that. I do have another announcement that I want to make, and that is I have decided, for personal reasons, not to run for re-election to the school board. That's not to say that I am not planning to be around and to participate and to do whatever I can to support my public schools here in Novato, as I intend to do, and I hope that that if there's anything that anyone ever thinks I can do to help, you'll let me know, and I'm certainly will participate as much as possible. It's been a heck of a run, and I'm very, very, very proud of our school district. And I look forward to working with all of you in a different capacity. So more on this to come maybe when we get to the last day or something like that. But
More accolades for you.
Accolades.
They're coming.
Very
Don't worry.
few.
Don't worry, we have a list.
Check your ankles to see if you've been chained.
Yeah.
I'm going to say check my ankle bracelet. Okay. So it's bittersweet, you guys. 18 years, been a big part of my life. But personal reasons, I just think it's something I have to do for me and my family. So that's the announcement, and good luck to those who want this job. It's a great job, and I will do everything I can to support current trustees as well as new trustees going forward. So having said that, Superintendent, you're up for announcements.
We're grateful for everything you've done, Derek, and I know this isn't the time to do all of this, but we'll be tapping your shoulder for sure. So Sandy's going to be happy. We're going to be happy about that too. HR did a fabulous job with the new employee orientation yesterday. They're to be commended. So Franny and her team were wonderful. And Deb was there to introduce as well and represent the board. I thought that was terrific. There were 34 participants. We actually have hired so far 42 people. I think that's the number. And it's continuing. I know that there's interviews every day. And they've really been working day and night and weekends in HR. And I think we just really need to acknowledge that. this morning, Franny and I were out at a couple of schools, and she was sharing that some of our teacher credentialing needs to be kind of adjusted because they're new people. We're doing internships and all different kinds of things. So we put a call into Mary Jane to see if she could help. So tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, Amy Ridings, who's the credential specialist at MCOE, is going to be setting up shop here. She'll be here all day tomorrow. And that's a huge thing. And Mary Jane always comes through for us. And we were both surprised and happy and grateful. So that's going to happen tomorrow. So some of our people that are just being hired and have a little unusual kind of situations will be helped. Our enrollment is now, and that's why I left and Derek mentioned it already, our enrollment has gone up by almost 300 kids. 7,439 is our new number. We were at 7,168 last year, so we just want to make sure they're all there. We'll be starting every day. The schools will be reporting to Lois's office. She has developed a spreadsheet, so it'll be easy to do some comparisons, which will be great. And we will be meeting with the principals every day to look at the numbers. You only count for the first 10 days the kids that are in their seats. It's not that, oh, who's on vacation, they haven't come back. So that's how we'll determine what the overages are, what the combination classes are, if there needs to be a decrease or an increase in enrollment in staffing. We don't know any of that now. So we're not making any decisions on any of that until we see more clearly what our numbers are going to be. So that's important. We're asking everyone to be patient with us on staffing. You're going to hear more about it from Angela tonight and also from Franny. We have several openings in special education. We have openings in math and science that are very disconcerting, and we're very worried. So I think what we need to do is figure what can we do, what are we doing, and what are some opportunities for us to work with agencies to help us out. But we want to stay in compliance with special ed, and we want to have teachers that are working in the classrooms that have a proper credentialing. So that is for sure. Mark Brewer and I met with Marty Shearer yesterday. She's a retiree from a very good math teacher from Novato High. And Franny was with us too, yeah. And she is willing to mentor some of the newer math teachers by coaching, by doing demonstration lessons, by developing strategies. And she would do that as a retiree. So we're grateful for that as well. So we're trying as many things as we can. We also haven't hired any yet, but are advertising for permanent. We had talked about permanent subs or traveling teachers. And there's already how many applications for that? Just two, better than none. So people are looking at that as well. So that's good. The IT and the bond department have been doing a ton of work every day, on the weekends, every single time, getting the fiber optics up and running. So Logan right here is our man. He got San Jose and Hamilton done, right? And Rancho's almost up. Oh, wow. Okay, so he had a timeline, and he was working with, yesterday you were working with Dana, but then she went on vacation, or Friday. When was that? Saturday. When did I see you? Saturday, yeah. So lots of work going on. We have a very talented young man here, and so we're grateful. And he works very well with the bond department and very well with IT. So Logan is a find, and we're grateful that he's working with us instead of Katati Roner Park, where he graduated from high school there. So. Relay for Life was a profitable. Walt and Stephanie Regani are the co-chairs, along with Frank Cerubi. These are all names from our past, and Mary Mazzanti. They made $53,000. So for the people that were able to walk, I want to acknowledge Deb Baravan and Peter Ermini really helped. And then Colleen walked, and we were so grateful for that as well. So lots of people were there. And all the Rotaries were there. You could just see the people that are really committed to our community there to help. And then opening day is at Novato High. Remember, we had to change because we couldn't be outside at San Marin, so we'll be outside at Novato High. 7:30 to 8 is coffee and treats from Cody. He's already planning what he's doing. And we'll do a 9 to 10. And the theme will be honoring our avid kids this year. We were going to do something very formal indoors, but we can't, so we've pared it down a bit. But we've got, I think, 4 students that are going to share their experiences in Avid as first-gen kids. So it should be fun. I hope so. So I hope you can come. Oh, I'm sorry, this was Ross. So I forgot. And Lois, you can join me if you would like on the air conditioning and all of that. So here's what's been happening. Mike has been working or has been meeting with Mira and also Mark Brewer to talk about what they were doing. We just found out, I don't remember when we met, a couple days ago, that some of the schools already have fans, but they're not necessarily oscillating fans. And so Mark and I went to Peony Hardware and we were looking at these little mini swamp coolers. So I bought 4 of them. And Mark was going to do a demonstration in one of the classrooms to see if it helped with doing anything at all. And Mira was doing a same sample at Lou Sutton. And then, everybody knows we're trying to do something. And so I put this on your table, and I sent this to Lois. So I just got this from Karen. This is a company that comes in and does additional air conditioning as an outside unit. So we're trying to look at as much as we can. I don't know if there's anything else that you've been doing that I don't know about.
Well, we ordered the fans.
Yeah, okay. Oh, good.
And they
Okay.
should be here first thing next week.
Oh, great.
Mira got back and said she felt the little air cooler works well behind the fan
Oh,
to then move, so the air that the fan moves is a little bit cooler. And Tony and I are going to meet tomorrow morning to discuss this and see how we can move forward to at least investigate and see what it
Okay.
means
super.
to do that.
So I think everybody's on board trying to do something is what I'm going to say. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our announcements, and it is time for non-agenda public comment. And it looks like we do have some non-agenda public comment. Thank you very much. Thicker paper. Okay, so Mariah Fisher, you're up. The 3-minute. You're a veteran here, so I'm not sure how much I have to explain, but welcome.
you.
Nice to hear from
Is
you.
this on?
Good to see you.
Okay. Good evening. Yes, I'm a veteran. Welcome back. So just to introduce myself to the public who might not know me, my name is Mariah Fisher. I'm the president of Novato Federation of Teachers. I teach at San Jose Middle School, and I have 3 kids in the district. So speaking of my kids, I have one taking the city bus to Novato High, go Hornets. I'll have one walking to SJMS, go Scorpions, and I have a new Mustang taking a carpool up to San Marin High School. So the tension and kind of chaos at my house is a lot right now, and I have to say that, so I've worked here since 2008, and my kids have been students here since 2011, and this is the most nervous I have been, and I don't think it's because I have 3 different schools that I'm dealing with. I think it's the teacher shortage, and I'm deeply concerned that my kids are going to have some long-term subs, and how many are they going to have, and how long are they going to be there, and the stress, especially since I have a student with special needs. Is he going to be in one of those classes? Are they equipped to serve him? I don't know. He had one last year, and I can tell you he was not equipped. So I'm really nervous about this situation that we're in, and I think it's important that we don't just look at the articles nationwide or statewide or countywide, and I appreciate the update that we're going to hear in a little bit. It's a huge issue. I met with some union leaders from the county yesterday, and they all thank us for the wonderful teachers they've received due to the layoffs we did. I hate to say I told you so, but I did stand up here in the spring and ask you to not lay off those teachers. We just knew that laying off 4 math teachers was not the right thing to do, and we did it anyway. And I think there's some accountability on that. You had other options on how to cut $4 million from the budget. Some you did, and some you didn't. And I think $3.3 million in teacher layoffs was too high, and now we're suffering because of it. I hear a lot of teachers are doing a 1.2 next year. Some of them are doing it for the money. Some are doing it because they love their kids, they love their school, and they want to serve their school. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I ask that you consider when you say, like, what can we do? If I'm a teacher and I'm a 0.8, my benefits are reduced and my sick days are reduced. If I'm a 1.2, it's not increased. It's something to consider. So give people 1.2 sick days. Give people 1.2 towards their sick or towards their health care. Just an idea. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that will conclude our non-agenda comment, and we're going to start with item 11, which are staff reports. And our first staff report will be the annual Truth Student Survey results and our public.
Can I just make a?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to say
Unless
something.
we're
Mariah,
going to hold
I
that,
thought-
superintendent's going to.
I'm sorry. I thought Mariah was going to mention this, but she's taking over at San Marin High School, the drama class, and I think that's going to really be helpful to have that continuity. You were there before, and to what you're doing at the middle school, and so we're grateful that you were able. Now talk about 1.2. I think it's 1.4. I'm unsure what you're doing, but is it 1.2? Oh, okay.
I'm doing it because I love this district and
Yeah.
I love that school, and they have to have a drama class.
Absolutely.
It's a crazy thing.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. I just want that. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a crazy thing, and finding employees is not limited to public education. It's out there in the private sector as well. So we're all dealing with this. So, back on staff report. If you're ready to go, Ms. Benjamin?
I am.
All right, take it away.
Thank you very much, President Nell. So this is the annual report for our Youth Truth Student Survey, and we've been doing, this is our fifth year doing it. It's been quite successful. Well, how can I slide the slides? Look here. There we go. So this last year, this spring, was really quite successful. We had 97% of our students participate. We had a nice uptick of families participating, up to 52%. And we had an uptick of our staff of participating also. So I know the principals and the schools really put in a tremendous effort to get this response. So really happy about that. We had many meetings about this. We had annual review at Cabinet, and one thing that we did different this year was that we had one-on-one school reviews with principals did with our Youth Truth representative, and they spent an hour with going over their own school's results. We did that instead of the annual school site council, and principals thought that was a much better use of their time where they could really dig into their own results. And I think we're going to continue that in the future years. This is just a slide to let everyone know that they can access the district level reports. It's in the board report itself, and then in this presentation. So you can just click on the links, and it'll take you to the reports. And this is a snapshot of the feedback across all stakeholders, and this is a high-level, district-level snapshot. And two things I want to point out: an area of success is belonging at the secondary level. There was an increase for both middle and high school, and an area of improvement is for culture for students at elementary, middle, and high school levels. So I just focused on presenting student data here. So I just wanted to show you an area of improvement and an area of success. Where is this? Okay. So for students in middle school, belonging went up 4 points, and high school went up 11, which was fabulous. And then I've highlighted the two highest rated questions. So these are the questions that are asked to identify belonging. And one was, most students are friendly to me. That was a highly rated one at the high schools. And the other one was, how often do you work with other students for your classes, even when your teacher doesn't ask or tell you? And that was highly rated in the middle schools. And this is on a 1 to 5 Likert scale. Okay, area of improvement. Well, this was concerning because across the grade levels for students, culture just dipped across. Went down 32 points for elementary, 20 for middle, and 11 for high school. And at the elementary level, these are the questions that they ask for that, and the ones that are highlighted are the ones that rated the lowest. Does your class stay busy and not waste time? That, again, a 3-point Likert scale, and that showed up as a 2.08 in the 24th percentile. And do students behave well in class? That showed up in the 35th percentile. So I think that's certainly an area that we want to focus in going forward. Then for secondary students, these are the questions that are posed for them, and the highlighted ones are the lowest rated. Discipline in this school is fair. In the high school, it was a 38th percentile. In the middle school, the 33rd. This is on a 5-point Likert scale. And then the other low-rated one was students from my school treat adults with respect. Again, in the low, they were both low, 41st percentile for high school and 36th percentile for the middle school. So that was just a very quick overview. You can dig more deeply into the reports yourself because it's vast. There's a lot of information. But really want to appreciate the Peter E. Haas Jr. Family Fund because they fund the Youth Truth Survey at the secondary level. Prior, we had the Marin Community Foundation participating in an initiative, and that initiative ended, so we paid for it ourselves this year, and Peter E. Haas Jr. Family Fund paid for the secondary, and really want to thank the NUSD community, families, and staff for participating. Thank you.
So let's check in, and we have questions or comments on the survey, you guys, anybody? Trustee Butler and Trustee Aguila and Trustee Gasson, you'll let me know.
So our 5th year doing this, do we feel that it's still very effective, that we're actually doing something? Are sites actually using this information?
They are using it. I
Okay.
believe, I remember last year and years prior, they weave them into their SIPSAs, School Plan for Student Achievement. So they do weave it in there. I mean, this year they're going to have these goals along with their equity goals with Dr. Mohammed, I believe. So it's a lot of information, but we're really starting to focus. I think that 1 hour meeting with the Youth Truth rep really kind of focuses them in on the couple of things that they can really.
That maybe they wouldn't pick up on their own, maybe.
Right.
Some trends or whatever.
Right. And, this information is district level. Individual schools may have different results than this. This is just high level across the district.
Thank you.
Trustee Aguila?
Yeah, thank you so much first of all, thank you for doing the farmer's market. Forgot to mention that, so thank you for leading that on. I wanted to, with this topic, I always bring up the CHIC survey, the California Kids survey, and because it's always good to compare that with this.
Right,
as
so
well, and NUSD.
Right. The CHIC survey is done every other year.
Right. And so I always like to so thank you for this because I always like to keep this and then compare it with the other surveys that help us understand better what's going on, not just nationwide, California, but Nevada as well. So thank you. My main question was for the elementary questions that were asked it was to the principals, right? Does your class stay busy and not waste time? What was there the way that it was asked, were they able to write in, was it an open-ended question or was it just?
It was a choice. It was no, hardly ever, sometimes, or yes, very often.
Okay, and then we don't. So that's up to who would be in charge or on top of making sure that this changes, that we get better results for next time.
Well, It's the principals. They can dig into it and really look at, they can take the demographics, they can really slice and dice that information to really see if there's a specific group that is rating this low. At the farmers market, thank you very much for bringing that up. I am Kath Non, the principal at Rancho, Mira Patel, the principal at Lou Sutton, and Lori Nuno, the principal at Olive School, were there this afternoon, and we were talking about this a little bit, and they all acknowledged that, yeah, they saw that, and it was an issue this last year, and is one of those things that they're looking at for next year, and how to address it.
Yeah. And the ones that you didn't highlight, I mean, that's still an area of concern, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but I just, excuse me, just wanted to sort of highlight maybe the two lowest ones.
Right.
Yeah, just to kind of give you a flavor.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments tonight? And Trustee Gasson, just want to check in with you. Youth Truth Survey?
I'm good.
You're good, okay.
I'm good. Thanks for asking and for all the work being done.
Okay. All right, then, thank you. We're going to move on to our next agenda item. This is a special education update, and Angela Williams, our special education director, will present.
I'm still getting used to that name. It's weird to hear it. All right. Well, good evening, board and Dr. Derby. I am here to present our presentation that's an overview of last year and a look into this year. Let me see. Oops. Let me see if I can get this in presentation mode. There we go. All right. So everything that we do in SPED sort of starts and stops with Margaret Wheatley's circles. So we're always looking above the line at our logistics and the procedures and the policies and the practices and the patterns and the data that's informing the work that we're doing, combined and partnered and married with that underbelly of the soft side of the work that we do, right? The relationships, making sure that we're understanding what our identity is in our department, supporting our staff out in the field, our students that are in NUSD schools and on campuses outside of NUSD, and then forging those relationships with our students and our families and our staff to make sure that we're serving our students with their civil rights entitlement through their IEPs. So I have a little bit of data to share with you. I can get into the nitty-gritty details of it, but just for some context, I can share the last time that I shared our enrollment with you, it was in May of 2021, and at that time, Nevada Unified had a total enrollment of 7,595 students. As of today, we took the numbers in cabinet, and our number right now is 7,439 students. And that's a difference of 156, just from the last time that I was here talking. At the time that I was here, we had 869 students with IEPs that we served district and throughout our regionalized programs and beyond. Today, that number is 1,087 students. So we have a loss of 156 students and an increase of 218 students with IEPs that we serve. We're finding that parents are moving into our district. We're receiving students that are coming to us with IEPs. But then also through COVID, we've noticed that we have had an increase that's a pattern across many of our school districts nationwide, that students are coming with more needs as we enter that post-pandemic phase. Right now, we're at the threshold of about 14.6% of our students that are identified as students with disabilities. So the threshold that we want to be at is right about 13 and 14%. So we're still within that window, but knowing that we're still not out of it yet, being really, really mindful of making sure our assessments and our referral processes are capturing the students that do have disabilities, and that we're doing our work to make sure that the students that are ready to exit special education are doing that as well. So a little bit more information. Right now, we have 128 students that are in our MCOE programs. Those are our regionalized classrooms throughout the county. And we have 56 students that are in non-public school placements and 2 students in residential placements. So If we look back to last year, I have to say that even in the face of COVID and as we've been struggling through all those challenges, we've had some really great successes, and I'd like to highlight those. So we are expanding our continuum of services right here in NUSD. Last year, we opened our very own counseling enriched classroom at the elementary level, which is very exciting because that's kind of a nuanced program at the elementary level countywide. There aren't many classrooms that serve our students. These are students who might be identified as emotionally disturbed and need a more sheltered classroom with fewer students and a therapeutic environment. So we're continuing. We had a CEC program at both of our high schools and at San Jose Middle School, and now we're trickling that down and offering more nurse services earlier on, and hopefully we'll see fewer needs moving forward. In that program, we implemented the AIM curriculum. It stands for Accept, Identify, and Move. And Andrew Weir, our behavior health specialist, has been working with our cohort of teachers and staff that serve the students in those programs, 3rd grade through 12th, implementing that curriculum. We've seen some really good success with that. Looking at our data from CASP, we saw that students exceeded the state levels in several grade levels, which was very exciting. So in 5th, 7th, 8th, and 11th grade, we saw students exceed that statewide norm by 10%, which was really exciting. We still have work to do, but it's just important to note that the only testing that happens in the high school level is in 11th grade. So we don't have data from the other grade levels in that area. The internship programs that we have 2 that we've been really supportive, really been supporting all in, was with speech and language pathologists. We have several speech and language pathologists who are able to supervise interns, and we had one intern last year. Unfortunately, she moved on to another venture. We were hoping that she would stay with us, but she has found another pathway. But our school psychologist intern program, we had 3 interns last year and 2 of them stayed with us, which is very exciting that that program is growing and keeping and retaining our own that we're training, which is a great success for that program. We reinstituted our SPED advisory committee, and we officially have a district special education advisory committee. Diane and Maria were both a part of that committee last year. We have a lot of representation at the elementary level, so we're hoping that we can continue to grow that with middle school representation, high school representation next year. And last year we also had the very first partnership with the City of Novato. That was a special needs safety event that was housed at Pocket Park. And it was great. We partnered with fire department, police department, and it was a day where students came with their families and developed healthy relationships with our first responders. And then if you look at our placement in least restrictive environments. So least restrictive environment means that we're looking at that continuum of services that we offer, making sure that students are with their age-alike peers that have the most access to their gen ed cohorts. We had an increase in students moving into more restrictive placements, which are either NPS or residential placements. Last year it was an increase of 33%. And we had a 7% increase of students coming back. So students moving to least, I would say, less restrictive environments from those placements, which we'd like to see that number be a little bit more closer so that we have that balance and that fluidity of the same number going in and out. But the 7% was an increase for us. So that was exciting to see. That 33% is definitely a reflection of COVID and students needing more therapeutic environments. So a little bit of information about our governor's report that came out in June. There was an increase in the base rate of our funding. It went from $715 to $820, which is great. We have more money in special education than we've ever had before, but we're finding that sometimes money isn't the solution to all of our problems. So it's definitely going to help, and I'm excited to see that there's a lot of attention and focus headed in this direction. We just need to make sure that we put it in the right place so that we can continue to serve our students through our services. In 2023, we're going to be looking at the addendum process for LCAP, which is going to include a focus on the IDEA spending. So it's typically focused on students that are homeless, foster youth, EL, and now there's going to be room for conversation of students with disabilities in that arena. So districts that need more support in that area will be requesting the addendum process. We're going to consolidate those two extraordinary cost pools into a single cost pool for which is going to bring $20 million in for the state. So it's to be determined how much we will get of that, but it will be a streamlined process for those extraordinary costs. And then beginning in 23-24, the ERMS funding is going to come through right to the LEAs and no longer through SELPA, and ERMS is emergency health-related services. Then we also have a alternative pathway for diploma with students with exceptional needs, and that's going to require students to take the CAW and that their curriculum is modified and aligned with the state standards. So more opportunities for students to receive district diplomas when they graduate out of our programs. Looking ahead to next year, we are going to continue to expand our services. We have hired our very first Mod Severe teacher, and he will be starting at Lou Sutton Elementary School with students that we referred to MCOE and they were not accepted, and a non-public school would be too restrictive of a placement. And so it's sort of like the world's aligned, and this candidate came forward and said, I'm from Novato, I'm interested in working in Novato, and we said, come on board. And so his credential is specific to Mod Severe, which is why we've opened this classroom, and we're excited because we now have a place for these students to attend school in their community, which is very exciting. We're going to implement Goalbook Toolkit, which is a program that our service providers will use they'll input present levels of students' performance, and it will generate robust goals, assessments, and information tools that the teachers can use to implement the IEPs. Our program coordinators, Chris Martinez and Kevin Goyer, are going to be working with our RSP and SDC teachers to adopt a supplemental ELA and math curriculum. We are going to continue through our PLCs, our professional learning communities, and our job-alike meetings to support staff with aligning their practices and their policies and procedures. And like I said earlier, we're going to expand our DCAC to include more representation of our students and their families in that conversation. We're excited. We're partnering with Sam Drazen with Changing Perspectives, and he's going to be providing inclusion professional development for 6 of our schools this year. And the schools that are not participating this year will get the same professional development the following year. We are looking at how are we going to transition students back from those restrictive environments. So hopefully that 7% we can start to see increase, and that 33% of students transitioning into more restrictive environments start to decrease. And then we're going to be looking at how can we retain staff. We have had a tremendous amount of staff leave over the summer. And I mean, we had 3 resignations over the weekend. And I was in interviews all day long. I was working over here while the meeting was happening. I'm responding. We're chasing every possible lead that we possibly can to fill these open positions that we have so that we can start this school year with staff in classrooms with students. But we do have still a significant amount of openings that we're trying to fill. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Well, I guess we'll start at the end and come this way. So Trustee Milrick and then Trustee Aguila.
I think you've told us the same news we've heard in the world. 2 years of COVID has significantly stressed people in their lives, including students who are eligible for special education services. So that 33% increase in the rate of students moving into special ed. Do you have a strategy for what you're going to do different, or how I mean, other than make COVID go away with the snapping your fingers, which, that seems like the big challenge,
And that 30,
along with others. Thank you very much.
well, that 33%, just for the numbers, it's went from 42 to 56. So we had an increase of 14 students. So it's not this
Okay,
absorbent
okay.
amount, but when you have smaller numbers, the percentages get bigger in comparison.
So 14 students is a number that you can deal with, as opposed to, it doesn't sound, 33% sort of, I didn't quite understand the head count. Thank you.
Correct. So, and I think starting the conversation with what does a successful transition back look like when we're having the conversation of a successful transition into. And so what are the benchmarks? What are we expecting the student to be able to do and show that they're able to be ready to come back to the district?
The mainstream, yeah. Thank
And
you
what
very
does that
much.
transition look like?
Thanks.
Trustee Aguila?
Yeah. So I think that even like during COVID and after COVID, you've had a lot of good, successful things that have happened in the department. And some things I'm just surprised how quickly they've changed. Because last we talked, we were fully staffed. The elementary enrollment was low, was down, and so those things have changed. And so it's just amazing how quickly things, and that's a concern, for the department. I just wanted to just give a little thanks to the community and the parents and how they do participate and they do help out. And we had, for example, they helped with the DSCAC, the roadmap, and so that took a lot of work. And so thank you for that. And I know that that's in language friendly. So that also takes a lot of work, and so I want to acknowledge you for that.
I just for so everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yes.
The county SEAC created a roadmap for parents and families entering special ed, and it goes all the way from birth to age 22. And we call it the roadmap because the visual actually looks like a roadmap. And so it's a user-friendly format. It's translated into multiple languages for parents to be able to, what is this world all about that I'm getting myself into with my family?
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's not easy. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort from a lot of people. So thank you for that. And I wanted to, when the parents also participate in the contest, and they raised $80,000 not too long ago. So
Through dedication to special education.
Exactly.
There's a lot of grants that we benefit from for that fundraiser.
Yeah. And so just lots of good things that's come out of this department, lots of improvement. And so just wanted to thank you for that. But lots of work is still ahead. And it's, again, I just want to say how quick things move in this department. And it's a very complicated department to understand, and if we're not parents, and if we are parents but we don't have special needs children, that's even more complicated. So it takes special kind of people to work in this department. And so thank you, and for all the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Trustee Mack?
Yeah, I just want to revisit, you were talking about IEPs and how they've just mushroomed. And so you referenced 700 or so, and now it's over 1,000. I'm paraphrasing. In just 1 year? And just since last year, are we saying that?
Since May of 2021. So yeah, just over a year.
So it's nearly a 50% increase. I really would like to, if we can, better understand if we can, what's driving that in terms of, understandable that there's a lot of COVID in there, and a lot of anxiety and whatever else is being brought out by COVID. But I'd really like to understand this potential issue of import, that people are coming in here with IEPs, and understand, is that an issue? Is that something we need to look into? If we can do anything about it. But those numbers are monstrous. I mean, just huge. That percentage increase is crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we could look into that. I think I'd like to better understand it.
Yeah, and I think with our systems transitioning to SST being through Aries, we're going to have a much more systematic way of looking at the referral process in-house.
Okay.
We can look up the information of the number of students that have come to us. We don't have control over that. But the students the referrals that we're receiving and how those referrals are processed through the MTSS system and through the assessment process will give us more information.
And if we could, when we do this analysis, instead of just looking at just that 1 year, can we just go back, whatever's reasonable, 5 years? I'd love to see a decade, just to see if there's a trend. I know there's a trend. We all know there's a trend.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see not just the upward trend. I'd like to see how it's accelerating and where it's accelerating. I think there's something to be learned about that, and maybe we can talk with MCOE about it. It's just, it's crazy. I mean, 1 in 7 students in our district has an IEP. Is that what we're saying? Roughly? Maybe 1 in 8?
Yeah, and it's a trend across the county,
Understood.
across the nation.
Understood. We're not alone.
But Angela and her team, along with Rebecca Minnick from MCOE, did a wonderful presentation on Friday morning as part of the retreat. And we started talking about data. So I ran over and got Alex and I said, can you just help me with some data here? And when I looked at the data, it was frightening. 69% of the students in special ed are boys. 69% of that number that Angela's been talking about. 44% are Latino. And I don't remember the economically disadvantaged. It's in the 40s also. So when you look at who we're placing, it made me sit back and say, what are some intervention or prevention programs do we need to put in place before we say, oh, this kid's special ed?
Right.
Because we start labeling kids, we start isolating them, and then it exacerbates the social, emotional, and everything else. So I think we really need to take a deep dive into the data and to see what else we can put in place. All of the schools have received money this year, one-time money that they are putting interventions in place, every single one of the schools, whether it's math or reading or some other kinds of things. And Anthony's work, when he just did a presentation for us in July, he said, I want it all database, so I want you to look at all of these areas and say, what are you going to do? What is the tiered intervention that you're going to do? So I think we will start eventually seeing some changes, but we need to have short and long-term intervention before we recommend kids for special ed, because I think we're over-identifying and nationally. I don't think it's just us. Yeah.
Okay, so Maria, you got a
Just-
comment on that?
Just one quick question. Forgot to ask you. Are we still, special education is being represented at every school?
In terms of PTAs?
Yes.
So I'm actually meeting with Kristen later this month, once school gets launched, and that's Kristen Chakowski is one of the members on our district SEAC team, and her big pull last year was to create a board position on each PTA where a parent is representing the special education community, which was huge. And so I haven't checked in with her yet to get those numbers, but I'm hoping, as boards change and people come and go out of different schools and rotate to different schools, hopefully we can continue to see representation at each of our PTAs
Yes.
by parents with students with disabilities.
Thank you for looking into that.
Okay, Trustee Butler?
I'm continually reminding myself of the comment you made of 3 resignations over the weekend, which is a huge red flag, and I think we all are aware that we're having some issues with hiring special ed and filling all these positions that are open. A lot of our open positions are special ed. how are we communicating with parents that we're taking this very seriously, that this is a priority, that special ed is a priority to this board? May not talk about it all the time, special ed students, but it's clearly they are part of this NUSD. Special ed is one of our students, one of our own.
Right.
And they need the services. So keeping the parents informed at the beginning of the year would be something that I would want to see as a parent.
Right.
And how are we doing it, and are we doing that?
So having openings in special ed is not anything new to us. It just hasn't always been at this level, as we've had people move away or they have a baby. We've had gaps. So we do have communication that goes to parents. I mean, I have letters, and so what that initial communication looks like, there's going to be a gap in services. We're going to continue to track and monitor the services that are not being provided at this time. And when a service provider is available, we will make sure to make those minutes up. So there will be a compensatory service schedule in combination with their regular service schedule. Because we're faced with a different situation that's a little bit more broad, Jan and I will be sending out a communication to the community and letting them know sort of what those openings are and what to expect starting the year, and what our plan is moving forward to continue to seek and recruit and fill those positions.
Yeah, I like that. That's what I would want to hear as a parent. So I appreciate that connection. How about our principals? Are they in the know of everything that's happening and understand how to respond if a parent comes and says, my child is not being served, not getting the services they need, so they're aware of what's being done? And
yeah, I keep them informed. We just had our retreat last week, so they got their staffing grids and where their openings were. And so they are aware what that looked like on Friday. It looks a little bit different today. But we are also exploring teleservice therapy. So there are going to be probably some virtual supports that are going to be in place when we start the year. And what we're also finding is people don't want to come back to work in person. People want to be remote. People got very comfortable, and especially our service providers that are able to serve. The good news is there are service providers. I mean, we have service providers across the country that we're talking to that are going to be able to work with our school sites and our teams. So I have a principal meeting on Friday that we're working to schedule to bring them up to speed with what the logistics of that are going to look like, boots on the ground, and then helping them be able to share that information with their families and their community.
And then our change with these resignations and the others that have happened over the summer, are we finding out the reason why these people are leaving? I'm assuming someone's processing that at some point. So
there are lots of varied reasons. Yeah. One is retirement, resignations, special ed.
Pay, I'm assuming.
The pay, yes. But special ed, teaching has become a different job than what people went into because of COVID. Special ed has transformed completely. It is a different world altogether. So a lot of people are tired. They're, and if they're just close enough, they're like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. They're ready to move on to their retirement. So there's that. People are relocating closer to their home. They've been commuting for years, and the jobs are becoming more available, and so they're taking jobs that are closer to their home because gas is so expensive and they don't want to commute. The teachers that we've lost in county are because our neighboring districts' salary schedules, we can't compete with them. We just can't. So we are looking at agencies to fill those positions, but that's a different cost altogether. So it's really tricky trying to figure out the right person too.
Thank you.
So, can I check with Trustee Gasson to see if she's first comment or question?
Thank you. Actually, just was going to say thank you to Angela, and kind of just round it out by saying, we are having challenges, but we're not alone. It's countywide, trying to fill these types of positions, and I'm sure that other counties are having the same issues as well. I mean, it's really unfortunate, and I do appreciate all the work that I know that she's been doing, thinking outside of the box and trying to figure out how we can fill the positions, but also supporting our students in the meantime. And I am going to be signing off for the rest of the evening, so thank you all.
All right, thank you. Good night. So we're going to stay on this subject, going to bring it back to Trustee Milrick. And then
So
Trustee
Angela,
Gill.
I missed a number, and I apologize. I understand, what I wrote down is 128 students at MCOE, 56 non-public school, and 2 in residential. That's sort of the more extreme population. They need more services than other students, I guess is what I want to say. What percent of our students are entitled to special ed benefits across all 7,400 students?
So that's the 1,087.
Okay,
Oh, the 14.6%?
yeah, it's a 14.6%.
It's 14.61.
14.6, so,
14.7 rounded up.
and and what I heard you say is those numbers are what's happening across the country? We're not above or below?
I don't know what that number is compared, but I know that our threshold, where we'd like to see, what the average is always right about 14%.
So this is not, it's the number that we're organized and structured to be able to support, and it's what we expect.
Correct.
I mean, because I heard some comments about over-identification, and so let me get to the point where I'm trying to make. I'm trying to understand where we stand. We're talking about a program as if somehow it is a bunch of numbers and employees and services, but really the program is 1,087 children that live here in Novato and play in the playgrounds and go to our schools and are going to have a life here in Novato. And I just want to make sure as we have this conversation about how we institutionally, which we're talking about, institutionally provide that support structure, we always put it in the context of this is 1,000 students, Novato residents, walk on our streets that have a life and need to have a fulfilling life through their whole time. And then look at it in the context of a human life, not in the context of organizational bureaucracies. So I know you do that. I've had people tell me how well you do that. I just want to make sure as we're having this public conversation that somehow all the dry numbers don't turn into some kind of story about that isn't the way this district operates, because I know since you've been in charge of the department, that human-centered part of how it works is the center story. I just don't want people to miss that point, and I'm trying to figure out how in a public way we can talk about that part of the story as well as we talk about the bureaucracy parts that we have to deal with in this room. So I think that's a thank you to you, I think. Well, it's such a hard topic because it is so important to people's lives.
Yeah. Well, and it's tricky too. I appreciate that. And the numbers are student stories, right? They're student lives and families' lives. It impacts a community when a student is identified with a disability. I wish I had gotten a fair shake at this before COVID hit. I was in this role for 6 months, and then the world turned upside down. And so,
be careful what you wish for.
I know, right? That first 6 months, we did start to see some downtrends in spending, in really fine tuning some of our processes. And then we've just been in survival mode. And so I haven't had a good baseline since I've been in this to try and figure out what's really going on with some good traction and good data. But we're continuing to look at the numbers. We see the uptrends, we see the upticks, and we're trying to diagnose and try and figure out where those pieces are that we can continue to work on and improve the system.
Thank you very much. That's the part of the story that I think somehow we miss. Thanks.
Okay, so Trustee Aguila, do you want to have the last comment on this?
Yeah, last comment. I just want to wish you all the best in finding quality teachers. I know that teachers are important, but special education teachers requires a special kind of person. So, and hopefully they're bilingual. So.
We interviewed a bilingual SLP today, so we're excited to bring her on.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, and thank you. We are going to find ways to support you, and we're going to all work together as a community, and the solutions are going to take participation from everybody that has anything to do with public education when it comes to special ed. So let's move on to our next discussion action item, and this is 12A. This will be approval of revisions made to the 2022-23 combined general fund budget. It's a 45-day revision report, and Lois Standing, our Chief Financial Officer, will present.
Hello. Seems like it was just yesterday I was here bringing you the budget. It's 45 days later, and things have changed. I've done many of these 45-day revises. Some years we don't even have to do it because there's nothing significant. Last year we thought it was significant. I think it was about $500,000 change. Today I bring you an unprecedented $14 million change to the budget, to the good, not to the bad. So we'll go through what makes up that dollar amount. It's all things that, as we were looking at the negotiations between the governor and the legislators, that the legislators just really did some great things in supporting schools. I'm happy to say, as you can see in the report, that a chunk of it is ongoing. That's always nice to see. A much bigger chunk is one time, which isn't the greatest, but it's money and we'll make good use of it. We talked today in Cabinet about coming up with a really careful plan that we can bring to you about how to effectively use that money. So I'll get into each one of them as we go through so that it's clear what exactly we are getting. So what was added to LCFF were two pieces. One was a more advanced or an additional ADA protection where we're looking at the attendance rate. We already had taken into account the 3-year averaging, but now they've added what they call the proxy ADA, which has to do with, we get to go back and look and say, okay, we were 97% in the past. That's most of our kids. That's how many went to school in any one day. In COVID, it went down to about 93, 94%. We get to go back and use our higher rate. So that added a big chunk when we entered that into our calculator for looking at LCFF money. And the other piece was the legislature upped the base rate another bit. So overall, we're getting an additional $2.4 million to our LCFF funding in addition to the increase that we already had in our budget compared to last year. So that's ongoing. That's very good news. There's two other pieces of ongoing. One, Angela already mentioned, is the increase in special ed funding. And MCOE gave us an estimate on that. For Novato, it means $410,000. What that means is the 725 up, whatever those two numbers were, we already got more than that bottom number. So I think our increase is about $40-something per ADA. I think that's what SCO said, but it totals $410,000. And then there was a nice surprise that they're giving us, kind of with an open hand, additional transportation funding with no strings attached. There was some talk that there was going to be mandated transportation, but that did not come to fruition, and it's just extra money. They look back at what our total expenditures were in transportation, and they want us to be funded, I believe it's 60% of our total expenditures, and we well exceed what our previous funding was, so we're going to get an additional $665,000, which almost doubles our funding for transportation. So that's just clear money that will support our budget. And then another ongoing one, although it's a decrease, the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, they were a little more exact about how we were going to be funded, so we lost $293,000 on that. But when you're looking at $14 million, what's that, right? So the two big ones are one-time funding, and they are called the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. And that's the biggest one. That is providing $6.5 million that we can spend. And I'm happy to see this. They've put it through 27, 28. So that's a nice long, that's 5 years that it gets to be spent, which is unusual. Usually they're more like 3 years. And it is meant for instructional learning time, providing summer school or actions that increase or stabilize the amount of instructional time or services provided to pupils, or decrease or stabilize staff-to-pupil ratios based on pupil learning needs. Also, implementation, expansion, or enhancement of learning supports, and then a very general addressing other barriers to learning. So it's directed to classrooms, but it's very open. So I think we can, yes, exactly. And then the second one, which is giving us $4.5 million, and that one is 3 years that we have to spend it. This is a very interesting one. It's the Arts, Musical, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant. So that sounds pretty straightforward. And what it says is these funds can be used for learning tools in arts, music, instructional materials, and multilingual school library books. Okay, that sounds good. But then it goes on and says they can also be used for operational costs, which is not at all mentioned in the title, such as retirement, healthcare costs, and costs related to COVID-19. So it's really odd. And I think part of that, the health and retirement, is the governor or legislator's answer to increased STRS cost. It's like, if you really need to, you can use it to cover this. So that's what the changes are since we had the original budget. It's a very interesting year, and it'll be exciting to come up with some. We already have, which I talked about at the original budget, and we'll talk more about it with unaudited actuals, the carryover that we have of all the other restricted funds. So we have a lot of planning to do to make good use of millions of dollars, literally. Okay, any questions?
Find out. 45-day revision questions?
So what's before us is to adopt a revised budget, right? That's
Yes,
that's
we
where
need to
you need an
be
action
able,
item on this.
we need to be able to add these numbers to the budget.
Okay. I just want to be clear what we're up to right now. Okay, thanks.
All right. I think Trustee Butler would like to make a comment or ask
With
a
all
question.
these additional funds, the LCAP supplemental, does that make any adjustments to that and how we allotted funding to?
Not at this point, but we do, what is true of the LCAP supplemental is we still have carryover to budget. So that will be part of our planning. We had about $1 million in carryover from last year that was not
Included in our adoption?
right.
So that'll come back to us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? So I have maybe just a little to say. Appreciate you bringing the revision forward and letting us know about the expanded revenue and resources that are coming about. But I think in some ways, I guess what I wanted to say is that we're very dependent on the state, Sacramento, for our funding and the conditions around the funding. And I think it's appropriate to identify the Joint Legislative Action Committee, and especially the County Superintendent Mary Jane Burke, Ken Lippy, who have worked, tirelessly on lobbying our legislatures. We heard a little bit earlier about the special education funding and some of the changes at that end. And I've personally been on calls where we've legislators or aides were asking us specific questions about how decisions might affect us. And I have to say, maybe for one of the first times, I think they were listening this time, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that COVID and all the uncertainty that it brought about. But it's just important to understand that the level of control that's up in Sacramento has to be paid attention to. And with some effort and respect both ways, I think we can have an impact on resources. So I think the ADA formula was a direct result of working with the state senate. So having said that, I think now it falls upon us to do the right thing with these funds based on the circumstances around the coming out of the pandemic, et cetera. And I hope that the word will get out and that we'll get some ideas that are worthy of these resources and going forward. But it's I think credit is due. We're going to miss the warrior and Mary Jane Burke, our county superintendent, and I hope that someone will step up to fill those shoes, certainly, as well as trustees who will chair the subcommittee that supports them. So thank you very much, and I will need a motion and a second. So I have
Move adoption of the budget revision.
So wait a minute, you guys, I'm sorry. I did get a public comment on this issue that we should hear that before we probably take motions, et cetera. So Mariah Fisher, if you'd like to come forward.
So I'll be brief. I just want to acknowledge that I know some of this money cannot be used for salaries. However, I know some can. And, we opened for negotiations on NFT's side back in June, recognizing what was ahead of us and what was going to be happening this summer. We wanted to get negotiations started in June. We wanted to get ahead of what happened all summer and even up to this last weekend. And that didn't happen. I implore you to get us into negotiations as soon as possible so we can help your staff be able to stay in Novato. Unfortunately, Petaluma now pays more than Novato. And so we know that Southern Marin has paid more than Novato, and the consequence of that for our district has been long going. Now that people can live in Petaluma and work in Petaluma and make more, this is going to be a dire thing for Novato. We have a teacher here. She's been teaching in Novato for 8 years. She's born and raised in Novato. She went to all of our schools. She's looking to buy a house. She has thought that she needs to buy in Petaluma because it's too expensive here and do the commute, and now she realizes she can make more up there. And that's just the beginning. We have 40% of our teachers live outside the county. So this is a really big concern. I'd love to hear the $2.4 million in the LCFF. I think we need to negotiate that immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. So I'll make the motion to adopt the revised budget, which 45-day revised, which includes $14.377925.
Thank you. Can I have a second? A second from Trustee Jacobson. So all those in favor, that is 6 in favor and 1 absent.
And Diane is dropped off, I believe.
Yes,
correct?
that's right. That's our absent. And
Thank you.
thank you very much, and I appreciate our bargaining unit president, Mariah Fisher, for bringing a sense of urgency to this matter. And we are aware, and we look forward to working with you soon. Okay.
Okay.
What is our next item? It will be 12B. This is approval of a pilot extended day science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, known as STEAM. And
Mariah, you too? Are you?
Superintendent Derby
Phil,
will lead off,
so
and
the whole crowd.
staff from
We're
San
pretty
Jose Middle School.
We're pretty darn excited about this. So you may remember that we talked about it a little bit, but the Visual and Performing Arts subcommittee of the Blue Ribbon Committee, and I think it was probably Linda, who remembers who it was? I think Linda Kislingbury was one of the people that said, we've got these great programs at both high schools. What about middle school? And so we were pretty like, okay. So then I met with the team, and they said, we're in. We were so excited to hear that. And so they've been creating something to present to you tonight that we can start by the end of August. And I can't even tell you how excited I am about that. And you're going to be even more when you hear from each of them. They've done a ton of work, and They're excited about doing this, and I think it will benefit kids tremendously and extend the day for kids that can use an extension of their learning. So, thank you, and I don't know who's here starting.
Thank you,
now.
Dr.
Very
Derby.
excited.
Thank you so much, Board of Trustees, for having us here tonight at the board meeting. We're really excited to present this, this really opportunity that is just great in the best interest of kids in our community. I think the key word is, the extending learning opportunity dollars. That's what it's going to do. Because not all of our kids do have those same opportunities, whether it's in their private life and even during the school day itself, whatever programs they're in. So when Dr. Derby presented this to us, and thank you very much for doing so, assistant principal, our new assistant principal, Deborah Baraban, who's hiding behind me, come on up here, has been working very, very hard on making this happen, along with our team of teachers that are going to be on the front line. So I'm going to let Ms. Baraban kind of present the program, and then the teachers will give a brief description of the courses and what that will look like for our kids.
And Ellen, do we have the slides? Oh, I have to find it. Okay, sorry about that. My bad. There it is.
Double click and then bottom right can be the slide show icon.
It's thinking. While it's thinking, I'll go ahead and get started. So super excited to pilot this program, and I really want to thank the teachers, Mariah, Cindy, and some of the other teachers who couldn't be here this evening. But this is an optional 7th period where students are going to get to select a pathway that fall under the sort of the heading or the acronym of STEAM. So one pathway is the STEM pathway, another made up of 2 classes. Another is a performing arts pathway, again, made up of 2 semester-long classes. And then the third pathway is visual and theater arts. It's still swirling, sorry. So the idea is each of these pathways, offers 2 semester-long courses. So students will take one of the courses. For instance, if they're taking the performing arts pathway, they'll take one course like beginning choir in the fall semester, and then they will flip-flop and take beginning dance in the spring semester. So the 2 groups of students will switch. The classes are going to be held every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from dismissal time, so 2:44 to 3:50 p.m. So that factors in the instructional minutes that we need to have them do. There will be no 7th period on Wednesdays because we're still keeping that open for our staff meetings and collaboration time. Our goal is to get started with our first class beginning on August 22nd. So we're really eager to get started and offer this for our families. I would love to be able to show you the slides, but are you able to pull it up? Okay.
They have them on paper.
In the meantime, so I will say that this is going to be offered to all San Jose Middle School students, so 6th, 7th, and 8th. It's a very simple application process.
Everything will go out tomorrow.
Everything will go out tomorrow. Families, our community liaison is going to help with contacting and communicating with families so that everybody has an opportunity to learn all they can about this program and get signed up. Oh my gosh.
I'm about to get you my laptop. So just
No, it's okay. It's okay. They have hard copies, so we can move forward.
But the public wants to see.
Oh, we're on reboot now over here, so I don't think it because it's all connected. Okay.
Keep talking.
Yes.
How many students will you be serving with this?
Well, we can serve full class sizes, so we're hoping to get 30 in each of the semester-long classes, so that'd be 60 times 3 pathways. That would be ideal, but we do understand that we may not fulfill all of that this year. We are going to, insist on a minimum of 10 per class, but we're really hoping. And I, to be honest, just the reactions we've already received from families that we've been broaching this as a possibility, they're really excited. So I think we're going to have some really good participation.
Ask another question.
Well, let's see. Why don't we start with our pathways? So our first pathway is the Visual and Theater Arts pathway, and we have Cindy here to talk about her class, Introduction to Sculpture.
Okay. Hello, my name's Cindy Imhoff Bruinings, and I teach exploratory art. Yay! As a visual person, I like to see that. Yeah. I'm like, what?
Down arrowed.
Okay, so with Intro to Sculpture, students will explore three-dimensional form, shape, and space as it relates to space. And they're going to learn additive and subtractive techniques using a variety of tools. And they'll cultivate strong studio habits as they learn safety and how to care for those tools and the studio environment, which is the classroom. Materials and topics of exploration include paper mache, clay, wire, upcycling, and installation. They will be keeping a sketchbook where they will record notes, their thoughts. It will guide them through the critique process, and we will learn about artists, and they'll be able to keep track of that in their sketchbooks as well. Students will also learn to write an artist statement and learn how to document their work. So those are all things that we'll explore. And what you see there is a project titled Layers of Me, and that introduces students to three-dimensional shape and installation using painting and collage as a point of departure. So here what they're doing is they're creating three-dimensional form and learning how to put it together in an installation from their two-dimensional pieces. So it's a good example of like the beginning, like a point of departure and a launch into sculpture and installation. So.
Then the partner course with Cindy's Introduction to Sculpture course is Miss Fisher's Theater Production and Product Design.
Hi. I'm really excited about what we're doing here, and this is my happy face. So the idea here, so I have 2 drama classes on campus at San Jose, and the idea is that this course will go into the production design aspect. So we will do everything from how to make a program to how to find sound cues, how to design the lights, what does the set need to have? Oh, it needs to have a door that goes into the bedroom, or oh, it needs to have a window, or, you know, just really trying to break apart the script. So we'll do a lot of script analysis to try to piece together what the productions need. So with the 4 productions that we do on campus every year, this class will be supporting those. So what's great is they'll be able to go to the performances and see their work. Or they'll be running the show. They'll be running the lights. They'll be running the sound. They'll be doing the quick changes backstage and all the prop changes that happen throughout the performances. So I feel like this is a really great piece to add to our department as we get our students ready for both MSA and San Marin High School's drama classes. So I'm really excited.
All right, I'm going to pretend like I'm Miss Margaret Starr now. So she couldn't be here this evening, but a second pathway that we're offering students is a performing arts pathway. So Miss Starr is the amazing vocal teacher at Marin School of the Arts, and we're really excited that she has room in her schedule to come and provide an optional 7th period for our students at San Jose. So they're going to be focused on beginning level choral literature. There's going to be a lot of focus on teamwork. Of course, you have to have teamwork in a choir. She's going to be working with them on developing their voice, sight reading, of course, music theory, and they're going to be performing. The partner class with beginning choir is beginning dance, and that is Miss Catchy, who also could not be here, but we have the lovely Miss McEachern to present.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I just want to say an extra thank you to all of you and Dr. Derby and Mike and Deborah. They've been working so hard this summer and really haven't had a summer as they've been putting together this incredible program. I am a former dancer, so this one really speaks to me because I had to make the tough choice to really participate in my dance community or my school communities. The fact that this is blended together is just such a gift for our kids who might not have this opportunity ordinarily. So Ms. Kachi will be working on beginning dance with the students, anything from ballet to modern dance, jazz, contemporary, hip hop, world dance. And they'll be working on both the technical aspects of dance, but also growing their choreography repertoire. So the students will have an opportunity to develop their own dances. They'll be showcasing dances that their teacher has taught them, but also developing their own dances, which is pretty incredible, both as solos and as duets. So we hope you can make it to see what they are up to. Thank you.
And then we have a third pathway that students could choose, and that is our STEM pathway. Mrs. Freed could not be here, and I'm very sad about that because now I have to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But she is offering an amazing class all about learning how to code. She's using Microbit. They're going to really be doing a lot of collaboration and design thinking to create amazing products and portfolios. All right, and then the partner class with that is Mrs. Urgubian, who is one of our fabulous math teachers, and Mr. Casper is going to share with you her class, Math in the Real World.
Thank you. As you can see, the course description is very engaging, interesting. It is so critical. Over 20 years ago, I taught math, and continue as the principal of San Jose Middle School is making the learning relevant and meaningful for kids. I think that could get lost sometimes, particularly for 6th through 8th graders. And what this course will do is really examine practical applications that they could use in their everyday life moving forward through math. So this course is like, this would be probably my favorite course because I could just go out and run it and use it immediately. And I know from my experience with our students, that's what they want. They want it to be relevant, meaningful, and believe it or not, kids like to know, how can this affect me? How can I use it? And I think that that's what our teachers, our goal is make it fun, meaningful, and how we can apply it to our everyday lives.
I just want to conclude by saying that this will be reflected in Aries. So these courses will actually be 7th period for these students. There will be a grade book. So it will count as a real course, as real courses for them, semester-long courses. Any questions?
Can I just add?
Yeah.
We did the instructional minutes, so they're the appropriate minute for 5 days, and we're doing those instructional minutes in 4 days so that we're counting it as a class.
They're completing their minute requirements, even but compressed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trustee Mack, you had a question, and go from there.
You can guess my reaction. I love this, being a big MSA and STEM guy. So I love the fact that we're getting kids prepped for these longer term interests, and the fact that they can do it earlier, especially for the kids that don't have the ability to take lessons and pay for lessons.
Correct.
That we're doing it so they can actually learn it without any inequity due to income. I think that's really, really important. Looking forward to maybe expanding to include music, but I understand it's first
Absolutely.
step.
Pilot program.
Yeah. Totally good. And the one question I have, and I just want to just make sure we're cool here, is that I know in years past we've had issues where we've had after-school classes that a lot of students want to take, but there's some students who can't because they have a commitment. And I think Mariah and I talked about this at one point, whether it's some sort of a ELD or some sort of a special ed, whatever. Do we have an issue with that? Do we need to look into that? To be careful of that?
The only conflicts students would have at this point would be like personal,
Okay.
if they have their own
Sports.
outside sport activity or something,
Okay.
that would be the only conflict. But we are communicating, we will be communicating with families, the time commitment. And I think for some families, it's actually going to be, it's going to take some burden off of them because their child is in school even longer. And so I think they're going to be really excited about that prospect.
No, I just remember at one point there was some sort of a class that kids had to go to that precluded them from being able to take an other class.
And those
Well-
are the, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those are exactly the kids that we're starting with.
Exactly.
Because
Okay.
for English learners, they're taking, the ELD as
Right.
a class. They don't get an elective. Special ed, they don't get an elective.
Right.
That's who we're going to start with.
Okay.
I think that's what, I was
Maybe that's what
thinking,
I'm
because
getting
I think that's
crossed
what
out.
you're trying to, because it's true, given that we have 6 periods in a regular schedule at middle school, that is their elective, if they have an RSP class or if they have ELD, and so they don't get to choose art or drama or one of those other things. So we're really, really honing in and communicating this with those families in particular.
Thank you for putting this together. This is awesome.
Yeah, excited.
Okay, Trustee Aguila and then Trustee Butler.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure that $22,000, that would be just to start the program, right? It's just the 22, but that's like from a COVID grant, yes?
This is ELOP money, and the 22,000 pays for a section. So every one of these courses is a section, and that's an estimate of the cost of a section.
Okay, because altogether would be 150, right?
Well, we will have every section is 22,000 plus instructional materials. So we added that all
Approximately.
together, and we're estimating that that's what the cost is.
Okay, but still, that would be just from the COVID grant.
It's not COVID. It's one-time funding, extended learning opportunities grant, and some COVID money, because you can only use the ELOP for 6th grade. So then the kids that are in 7th and 8th grade, we have other funds.
So 22 would be from the COVID and 22 would be from the ELOP grant, is that right?
For the 6th grade, the 22,000 for anybody that's teaching the 6th graders, we would do a percentage and see that it would come from there.
Because it's sections. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Got it,
sections.
got it.
It's
Yep,
6
got it.
sections, yeah.
Yep, thank you very much.
Okay, Trustee Butler.
Me? Okay. You state that it's a semester course, so half of the year. Did you already talk about this? Did I miss it?
It's okay. I am happy. It is confusing, so I want to make sure everyone understands. Yeah, so they're semester-long courses, but they've been paired up into what we're calling pathways. So, for instance, if I'm interested in doing the STEM pathway, one of my semesters is going to be math in the real world, and the other semester is going to be the coding and coming up with sort of a beginning of semester survey, kind of an information gathering, and then another one at the end of the semester. So we'll do like a survey four times a year, and I'm going to draw on my aim high survey experience to come up with something that's really meaningful and gives us accurate information that we can use.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think it's a great idea for too many reasons that I don't want to take the time to go into, but I want to congratulate you and thank you for putting this program together. And before I call a vote, I'm going to call for public comment. So we have a late entry. Mr. Alan Harris, would you like to address us on our STEAM pilot program?
Thank you very much, Mr. President and Superintendent. I'm delighted that San Jose Middle School is stepping forward with this idea. It was discussed in the Budget Advisory Committee, and it was discussed extensively on the Arts and Music portion of the Blue Ribbon Committee. It's a natural program to have to allow your students to have better opportunities to matriculate into the Marin School of the Arts at Novato High, since you're a principal feeder there. And part of the idea behind this was to recognize the great opportunity that the STEAM programs have, the STEM as well as the arts and music programs have for recruiting students who otherwise might leave the district or who are considering looking for opportunities for special advanced class levels at the middle and high school areas. So I think attention to that would be, counting those kinds of incidents in the future would be very good. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments as well. Thank you. Okay, so are we prepared to make a motion to approve this pilot program, or any more questions or comments?
One simple question. This is starting next Tuesday?
So we need to get the word out to families, and that is, I'm going to wake up at like 2 a.m. to do that. And then we are going to give our teachers a few days to finalize their lesson plans and scope and sequence and really get those completed. And then we are planning to launch August 22nd, which is a Monday.
Oh, okay, so real soon.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No time like the present.
Okay. Somebody else want to make a motion? I'll vote in favor, but I thought somebody else wanted to.
You want to? Okay, so I have a first from Trustee Jacobson, a second in from Trustee Mack, and all those in favor. We've got 6 positives and 1 absent. So congratulations and go get them.
I'm just
so
looking
much.
at the
Appreciate it.
microbit coding kits that you have to buy to
Yes.
see how.
We have some of those. We're going to be using those. Thank you.
So we're going to proceed.
Pretty exciting, Mr. President.
It is. I'm happy. Let's go on to C, 12C. This is approval of the Marin County Free Library Student Library Card Program. Superintendent Derby will.
Ramona, I'd like you to come up so I can introduce you. I don't know. It's so funny because you can come right here. So Ramona and I met when I was in Nicasio, and the County Free Library set up our whole library system there and did such fantastic work. And when I saw that she got promoted to the deputy director, this is just a blessing for us because her work is so. She comes with passion, she comes with knowledge, and she comes with collaboration that is, let's get it done on behalf of kids. So I'm so grateful that you have stepped up again with Novato now instead. And this is the team that's in our our C Street location. So I don't know if you want to say a couple of words about so that would be good.
Sure. Well, thank you to the president and to the board for allowing me the chance to speak. The Marin County Free Library is all about access and providing that access for families. And when we work in partnership with the school district, it's always as a support and in partnership with your school libraries. And so we are not a replacement for those. We just work with you all and work with your teams. And we did this project a few years ago with Novato where we got library cards for all. So we're back again because we'd love to just take this opportunity for any students, especially who were not in a district at that time, to get library cards. And I know some questions that come up are about privacy. The library does have a privacy policy. Parents can opt out if they would like to. And there's no question on a library card. We trust the parents, to make that decision for themselves and for their children. So I'm happy to answer any questions and turn it back to Superintendent.
Okay, any questions or comments on library cards? Trustee Jacobson.
Thank you so much. I know that my kids and I went to the library so much when they were little, and then at some point my daughter came home and was like, I got a library card, and she was so excited, and it made her, get that spark again for the library and for reading, and you guys have so many great programs there, and I'm really appreciative that you're bringing that to us. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any more questions or comments? Trustee Mulrick.
The notion that you go to school to learn something and then you go home and wonder, school is about learning how to use resources to continue to learn for the rest of your life. And in this world, libraries are at the front of that process. And thank you very much for partnering with us.
Go ahead, Trustee Aguila.
So I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah.
That we approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Marin County Free Library and Nevada Unified School District. Board.
Appreciate that. Got a second from trustee Mack. So before I call the question, I too just want to welcome you and thank you for working with our superintendent to bring library access to our students. Admittedly, I was never much of a library person, but so many of my family and friends and people just love the library. So you guys are doing a good job. So appreciate it. Okay, we have
One
another comment on that.
additional comment, and
it's appropriate.
This is the extension of the partnership program that Nevada Unified School District has established, the library program countywide, including the siting of the South Nevada Library on school property, which has allowed that library to stay open at an affordable cost and serve that part of our community. So in partnership with you, I'm thrilled to extend that same point of view forward.
Thank you, Trustee Miller, for reminding us of our role in supporting our libraries, especially in South Nevada. So, having said that, I will call the question. All those in favor? 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready
Thank
to
you.
roll, Ramona.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, Franny has the next 3 items. So, hello, good evening.
I got to announce it, so just everyone knows that we're moving on to 12D. This is approval of a revised declaration of need for the fully qualified educator for 2023, and we'll start there.
All right, thank you, President Nell. Thank you, Dr. Derby. So this first item before you started when I started here at the beginning of July. This started as a revision for a digital signature that was required from the CTC, and it has since been revised to include a number of additional possible emergency permits or short-term permit type hires that we need to get started with the school district to fill positions. And as has been shared much earlier in the meeting, we are thankfully, yay, having Amy Writings from MCOE here tomorrow all day. And she's going to work closely with my staff on a number of folks that do have some hurdles, not insurmountable, but little steps and boxes to check and things like that in order to be able to work under one of these options. And this document was brought to you previously. It's typically brought prior to the previous school year ending. So the idea being we're bringing a revision, which will then go to the CTC, so they're aware that we know that we're going to have to hire under certain emergency permit authorizations. And just kind of along those lines, Dr. Derby and I kind of discussed just to kind of hit on again where we're just a very abbreviated version of where we're at in terms of things that we're still looking for. We have 15 special ed positions, just to speak to the gravity of the situation, and 13 other teaching positions that are in the typical areas of math and science, but also in PE, English, and areas. Just speaking personally, I have never seen even a shortage of even multiple subject teacher candidates. I am happy to say, though, crossing fingers, toes, and every other appendage, it looks like our elementary vacancies should be filled. We're finishing steps with some new hires this week, so everything should be on track for elementary for sure. So, yeah. Any other questions?
You guys have any questions on our declaration for need for fully qualified educators? Trustee Aguila.
Just wanted to make a motion.
Go ahead.
That we approve the revised declaration of need for fully qualified educator for the 2022-2023 school year.
Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Jacobson. So all those in favor? I have 6 affirmative and 1 absent. So that has been approved.
Thank
and
you.
we will move on to your next item, which is E. This is resolution number 1, 2022-23. This is local assignment notification.
Yes, so this item is brought forward to you guys typically at, I believe, at this first meeting of the school year. What you have before you is, I will say, it is a snapshot in time of things in preparation for this meeting, of local assignment options known at that time. I do believe that we'll bring forward some additional local assignment options at a subsequent meeting once we get through our current hiring process that we're going through right now.
Okay, so we're going to need board approval on this resolution. So do we have questions or comments? So I have a first by trustee Mack and a second by trustee Nell. All those in favor? I have 6 affirmative, 1 absent, so we will approve the resolution. And as you say, whatever you need, you'll let us know and bring it back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So then next will be F. This is approval of the new COVID-19 response clerk. This is a job description. Approval for a position to help us coordinate COVID-19 response. So Francesca,
Yeah, you can call me Franny.
we're
That's
formal
perfectly
here,
fine.
so please
All right.
present. Thank you.
Thank you. So the job description you have before you, this is something that has been looked at and in the works over this summer for sure. And it is long overdue, is my understanding, even coming in new to this district or returning. I've come from places where other districts where a position similar to this has been in place through the COVID-19 pandemic. And so to finally have something like this in place, in my opinion, is long overdue. I know the sites here, just like districts across the Bay Area, site and district staff, extremely overloaded with all the various reporting requirements, vaccination tracking requirements, tracking positive tests and when it's safe for someone to return to work or school, all those wonderful and ever-changing things that we've all been going through takes a lot of extra work. And it keeps our regular staff from doing their normal, everyday heart of their job. So to be able to bring someone on to take some of that burden off of our site and district staff is extremely helpful to do that.
Okay, questions on this? Trustee Mack?
Thank you for putting this up, Fran.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So I agree, this makes sense. We need to take the load off of our site staff. They are doing way too much work to support this stuff and get back to teaching and those sort of things. So I really appreciate it. My only question is funding. It's one-time funding, but this is kind of I don't want to call it a one-time issue, but it probably has an end date to it eventually. My request to staff is that based on past budget situations where we've had positions that just kind of kept on going, I think this position, I don't know if we've ever done this before, but it needs to be something that has a kind of a continual approval situation. I know that might make it harder to hire somebody, but I think just based on the funding source and the fact that it is one time, we need to be very, cognizant that it is that, and we need to fund it that way, and we need to approve it that way every year, so we don't get stacked up. And I don't know if there's more positions like this yet, but what's that?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
She had a question.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done. I don't know if you have more positions like this, but if we do, we should.
There's a lot of categorical funds that would end if they become temporary positions, and then when the funding goes away.
Right. Let's talk about that then. I don't want to bring it up now, but okay.
I'll keep my comment to myself. So basically, any more questions or on this? I see this as something we have to do. For me, it's from a private sector. It's kind of a compliance position, and Unfortunately, I think there's something to be said for the protection the district will get against exposure, not to COVID, but to the liability associated with a lot that has to do with how it's treated and regulated. As for timing, I think it would be somewhat, it wouldn't fit us to do an annual review, but I see that you're looking for some sort of sunset date or something along those lines. So I think, we can just have that be part of direction to the superintendent that we want to, keep this in the COVID category and have it be part of anything that reports out on our adapting to or changing from pandemic to endemic.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'll move to approve.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just trying to talk, because I think a lot of times you and I being in business together, things don't make sense, so, but I get it now. So, but it makes sense to them, right? Yeah, I got it. Okay, so that's it then. So can I have a motion? Did I get it? I have a first from Trustee Jacobson, seconded from Trustee Miller, and Trustee Mack. I apologize. Did you? All right. So first from Trustee Mack. Let's have the minutes reflect that. And it's getting a little punchy. Second from Trustee Miller, and all those in favor. 6 in the affirmative and 1 absent. So we will go ahead and approve this job description. Good luck finding the right person to do it.
Thank you very much.
We're almost there, you guys. Hang in there.
My favorite subject.
Facilities. This is even better. This is easements. So hold on. This is 12G. This is approval of resolution 2. This is 2020-23. We're declaring intent to dedicate an easement to the Nevada Sanitary District.
We got public hearings we have to conduct, so this
and Lois Standing, our Chief Financial Officer, will prevent and answer those
You
questions.
just explained it. I don't have anything to say. It's so interesting. I guess this is why we have attorneys, because we found out that when you give an easement to a public utility, there's a whole special thing you have to go through. So this is
Lois, Miss Standing, I apologize. This is my failure to follow procedure, but essentially we have a trustee who's has to accuse herself, and she can't be present for the discussion.
Okay.
So Trustee Butler, who lives within 5 feet of the sewer line in discussion.
Not 5 feet? Where is it you live?
Wherever the limit is.
And what's the benefit you're going to get out of this? That's what
So the appropriate thing would be to have Trustee Butler step out and return back for adjournment, I suppose.
Yes.
So
I assume
thank you for reminding me.
Returning to home. You're leaving for the evening.
No,
okay.
Okay. So you may begin.
Okay, so this all is connected to the North Bay Children's Center, who I think you're all aware is building a very nice facility on C Street. And this seems to be one of the final steps between them and breaking ground. So we need to give them an easement, which we talked about doing in the past. Now this is the formal process. As Trustee Nell said, this is the intent. This is a resolution about intent. Next board meeting, we'll have a public hearing and the resolution for actually granting the easement. And to add further complication to this, today we found out that we're going to have to do this again for the reclaimed water pipe.
Oh.
So that you'll be seeing in the future too, as soon as they get the paperwork that they need from the water company.
The reclaimed pipe's the water district, right? Not the sanitary.
It'll be isn't this the water district? I'm sorry. Oh, this is the sanitary, so yes, the other one must be the water. Yes, correct.
Everything that we can chop into pieces is separate.
Apparently.
Mosquito, fire, sanitary water.
City of districts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're, go ahead. Are you?
Yeah, so I just need your approval for this, to pass this resolution of your intent to, in 2 weeks, grant an easement.
In 2 weeks, we have a hearing that we then.
And there will, in that same meeting, there'll be the final resolution.
So I'll move adoption of this, our declaration of intent to dedicate an easement.
Okay. And I have a second from Trustee Jacobson. So, any other questions or comments? I assume before we actually do the final approval, I understand that the sanitary district is well within its rights to have us provide them with an easement. But the process to date looks like it's been thorough enough. And at what level have we participated in deciding whether or not this particular direction and is the direction that we want to give up our land use on? And second is, what are our rights to use to tap into this sewer line, et cetera?
It will also be ours.
Okay.
That's my understanding, that when and if we develop the other side of C Street, this will be the infrastructure that we'll use.
So before it actually becomes final, if we could, just run it by facilities a little bit, because my recollection on this, we had a handful of options at one time. It's also my recollection, this is the one we preferred. But
We'll have Mr. Woolard at the meeting of the 23rd, and he's well-versed in what
right,
you
so
discussed in the
that's what I'm
past.
looking for. I'm looking
Okay.
for someone with more knowledge than I do on this particular route, the size, and then what we're going to be able to put over it or around it and things along those lines, because that is within our right to decide.
Yes, very much.
Eventually, they're going to have a sewer line, but we get to have input as to where it goes and how big it is and what it does. So I think I'll support the intent to move ahead, so I'll have a first and a second. Did I get that, you guys? Okay. All right, so all those in favor?
Okay. So, Mr. Nell, I appreciate that we want to have a civil engineer look at this and make sure our interests are being protected. Apparently, the process is more detailed than we thought, and we've missed some steps in this process, so we want to make sure our interests are protected. So if we can make sure staff is
that will be
properly consulting with outside expert, that'd be great.
That will be the goal.
Yeah, thanks.
So, having completed that vote, we are completed our agenda, and we are therefore getting ready to adjourn. And with the return of Trustee Butler, actually, it's in the rules. You have to come back. Really? No, I'm kidding. Little punchy thing. All right. So, thank you, everybody. Appreciate the work that we're done. Get ready. The school is about to begin. So, having said that, we are adjourned.
And to be clear, we're at Novato, not San Marin.
We're at Novato on Thursday morning. We
You
wouldn't
saw
have
that
been.
was,
Yeah.
I sent you a note, the webpage, it was incorrectly reported it.